Hello and welcome to my little corner of the internet. This is the Witch-king of Samra, and this is officially my first video on any YouTube channel I've ever created. Anyways, today I'm hoping to review one of my favorite tabletop role-playing games I've ever run or played. It's essentially a diceless role-playing game or a retro clone of Amber Diceless. Um, Imagine a setting where you play as the children or grandchildren of the Greek pantheon, and rather than the Greek pantheon of Greek mythology worshipping, or not worshipping, but rather ruling over only Earth, they rule over an entire multiverse. That means pretty much any version of Earth, pretty much any version of any setting in gaming or fiction or whatever can fit within the milieu of Lords of Olympus. Um, the game itself is very simple. It's obviously not for everyone because I know more than a few people are just not a fan of diceless role-playing games. However, um, honestly, if you are into more uh, simplistic or not necessarily narrative-based games, but traditional games that harken back to um, the way games worked during the 60s when they were before they were role playing. But even before D&D, this is kind of how it was done. Basically, the assumption is that rather than having a dice mechanic or any kind of randomized resolution, the whole notion is that the game master is the ultimate arbiter and also, therefore, the ultimate randomizer, because there's nothing more random than a human brain, especially when you're telling a story. Um, Now, I wouldn't recommend Lords of Olympus if you want to tell a story, because that's just not what tabletop role playing games should do, in my opinion. However, if you want a high powered, heavy role playing and drama focused game, I would honestly say that Lords of Olympus is one of your best bets. Um, Particularly if you play it like a soap opera. Um, I often refer to my Lords of Olympus campaigns as multiversal or omniversal soap operas, because you have the drama of the whole dysfunctional family of gods. And when I say dysfunctional, I mean it. Uh, Anyways, just gonna stretch this out a bit more. Let's see. I'll talk about my games. My games I've run. One of them involved a scion of Athena, played by one of my good friends. Now, in the game itself, there's nothing to suggest that Athena even has children or even desires to have children. But my player came up with um, a neat idea, which was that basically Athena used her divine magic to give a woman who was barren the ability to have children. And the child she implanted inside of her was a version of Athena. And this demigod grew as any human would, and then she was gifted immortality, and um, she ended up traveling across the multiverse. Excuse me, my voice cracked there for a second. Um, However, when it comes to more recent games, I have played ran a game that involved a son of Momus, who Momus is the god of satire, and basically, if there's ever a troll on modern day Earth who's constantly trolling people on forums and internet threads and Twitter and Facebook or whatever, it's Momus or Momus's cultists. But yeah, Momus got kicked out of Olympus aeons ago because he said stuff that really pissed off Zeus, mainly being that Zeus is a horn dog and keeps cheating on all the women he slept with, and is really unfaithful and lets his loins control him more than his brain. And so Momus got kicked out of Olympus and has kind of just wandered the multiverse ever since. Momus, however, is a primordial, so he's of the first generation of gods. There are 3 generations of gods, roughly. You have primordials, titans, and Olympians. Now, as a character, you could play someone who's the child of typically a titan or an Olympian, but I digress. One of the other characters in that game was what was he? He was the son of Dionysus and Hecate. And you might be asking yourself, if you know much about Greek mythology, how the fuck did that happen? Well, it happened because of a number of reasons, including the fact that Hecate was trying to breed the ultimate plan into action. So she had been planning her entire life to do something. And having this child was just part of the plan. And the child would be the fruition of the plan. But I am getting a little too much into that campaign, so I want to leave that for another day. Let's see. System-wise, it's all diceless. You create characters either with an auction, which I have never done because I tend to run more cooperative games rather than the way the game is kind of meant to be played, which is kind of antagonistic between the players to a certain degree. However, you can easily do it with just a set amount of points, and basically the core mechanic of the game is you compare the the ability value of a character and another NPC or monster, and then if the monster or NPC, god or whatever, has a higher ability than the player can then end up using the luck score to balance things out. So if they have a higher luck, that's kind of the fates nudging the character in the right direction so they can succeed. Anyways, I'll probably do a series on this game, potentially. Anyways, that's all I wanted to talk about. Just kind of go over a quick overview of the game, the setting, some examples of the games I've played, core mechanic, and that's about it. So, thank you for watching. If you enjoyed it, please give it a like and a subscribe, and click that bell. Anyways, thanks for watching. See you next time. Witch-king out.